The star in my hat is missing. Let's go to my super music and toy room and see if we can find it.
Welcome, guys, to another deck profile. This time, I'm not doing the deck profile. I got a special guest here that won the first ever Toppo Invitational, the Winter 2023 version. We got Mark here. Introduce yourself for everyone.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Lucas. Appreciate it. My name's Mark. I'm on the East Coast, currently the best player of all of East Coast Canada.
Hell yeah.
See, right here. Proves it. Yeah, we just recently had a Topo Invitational event. First of its kind, purely a bragging rights event, but it's kind of spawned from Tease and Frank. He's one of your Team Berserk members. Came from us teasing the crap out of him, telling him that he's the third best at best.
That's what you got to do. That's how all good things spawn.
Yeah. So I think he wanted it in writing, so that's what this event was set up to do, basically initially. So Matt, the organizer, who was on your channel as well, I think, for his master collection.
Oh yeah, that the long-awaited master collection, when he was explaining this Toppo Invitational as well too, and that was, I believe, we recorded that the Saturday before this happened. So I know it's a little later on, but now we finally officially got the results, and now we get to see what went down at the Toppo Invitational.
Yes, sir. So I was playing Gamma on the day. So I know everybody's pretty familiar with Gamma. So Blue Leader, basically the highlight is when he awakens, either off of having a 2-drop Unison or 4 life, he gets a great benefit of basically at end of turn drawing a card and picking up 3 androids from your energy row and placing them down. So you basically get like 3 free energy to play with every turn, which makes it pretty good. In the light of the meta, I actually wasn't initially going to choose this deck. I just sort of, funnily enough, just recently started playing it. It was really fun, and Matt convinced me to play it over Vegito, which was probably what I was a little bit more comfortable with. But yeah, I'm glad I took it.
Hey, yeah, I was gonna say, I'm just like, well, good thing you listened.
Yeah. I mean, he would have let me know if I didn't, and then lost. So I have to owe it at least a little bit to him. So I'll just jump right into the cards here. Probably this first one is probably the biggest MVP of the day, and that's the Unison, which I use 4 of. The Twins. That card is absolutely pivotal. Makes the whole deck sing, to be honest. If you're not really using Z energy in this format, I feel like you're kind of a little bit lesser of a deck, unfortunately, because it does offer a lot, especially with the blue. The blue's index so good.
Insane.
Yeah.
Blue, yeah, the amount of cards. Blue's the only like color I can think right now where you're kind of like, you actually have to think about what you got to put in your Z deck because of how many good options there are.
Yeah, it's such a toolbox, and I love toolbox. That's why I like Gamma. It's a grindy kind of mid-rangey deck, and I just love this stuff. So this one definitely spoke to me. But yeah, that's core to this deck. I know a lot of versions play Bunison, and I should preface that the Topo Invitational was a best of 1 pre-sign, which is kind of what we like. So a lot of my choices were based on that. So I had some flexibility into every match from my side because of that. So it wasn't like best 3. So a lot of the choices and the ratios and stuff were influenced by that a little bit. So I didn't put Buddhists into the main because if I needed them, I just would pull them from the side if it was the type of matchup. But I know a lot of people play them. But for me, this card was awesome because you could just play. I would play it, and if someone black smoked it, I'd just play it again because it's that good.
No, and you're literally, that's your awaken right there whenever you want. Yeah. And then just go nuts. If you really, really need a unison like later in the game just to go for a kill, you can always play it from energy too. I know it's not optimal, you're not refreshing it, but you still have that option where if it gets ramped into your energy, hey, why not? That's the only card left. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. This one was a new one. It's the new promo that came out. The negate, the new floodgate. Like, this deck needed more floodgates, but
yeah, exactly.
But it is a good ad. So if I was to change anything, I'd probably up that to 3. Actually, in retrospect, it's really good. Did a bit of an odd split on the super combos, and honestly, is kind of a superficial reason. Is because I had foilies of these cards, and so that's kind of what happened. So I had 2 of the Android 8s and some nice bionic blitzes there.
There you go.
It actually ended up working pretty good because the bionic blitzes, they just seem to work better in the early game, especially because our meta is a bit strange and we don't have a lot of red dominance. It's a lot of control players. So blue, yellow, green. The green pretty aggressive though, but a lot of like control, and so that card was really doing some work on the day. So I wasn't unhappy with the split. It actually worked really well.
No, yeah, you see most people just going hard into the 8ers now, but yeah, having that extra little bit of hand control is always nice just from your super combo.
Yeah, especially with the blue decks.
Oh yeah.
It just can make you like get some early damage because it makes them, they got to think now and they're losing cards, and so they'll take a little, maybe get a little brave.
Yep.
The next one is the Unison Searcher, but also searches for other Android red ribbon cards, actually, specifically. Kind of an automatic. Another one,
turn 1, yep.
Yeah, it's typical, just to feed the Unison basically early. The other one is Topo 14, or what we've dubbed Topo 14. So every card that does a Topo effect, we just keep it going. Pay homage to the original.
Does the Topo dance happen with those guys as well?
Yeah, it's
Good.
just like a transference there. It just keeps happening.
Good.
And the other card, probably another MVP, or an honorable mention at the very least, is Black Smoke, of course. Blue decks love this. Ability to take out problem unisons, draw. This one loves it for the draw too, honestly. I was drawing 2 all day with it. So
yeah. When you can tap 2 and then maybe play another card, you still get 3 energy back at the end of the turn. Like, why not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So good. So bustedly good, actually. Like, it does everything. And then obviously the Energy Fixer 17, 4 of that, and 2 of the 18. I think that's pretty much the perfect ratio. Also the standard breakdown of what mostly everybody's doing. So it just makes sense. The barrier is really, really good. It creates interesting plays, and also you need it to fix your energy in case something weird ends up down there, because you definitely want to make sure you have 3 androids.
Oh yeah, that's where this deck runs into problems, is when you start getting too many extra cards in there. Like, oh,
I was doing all kinds of goofy stuff when I first started playing this deck, and like I played against one game against Red Sin in my early trials of the deck, and then I forgot to I used it before I actually flipped over, so I went down to 1 energy against Red Sin. I was like playing down to it. It was crazy, but yeah, all kinds of goofy stuff. But once I finally got it down, those cards were awesome. The other one is this brand new Floodgate, Sun, Gohan, Power, and Shackle. I know a lot of people are talking about running 4 of that. I chose to run 2 in favor of also running 2 of the Android 17 Defending Friends. Because we were doing a pre-side best of 1, I felt like 2 was okay, because if I was going up a super aggro match, I would just put 2 in, another 2 in, and then just go crazy on the Floodgate and give my opponents all kinds of headaches.
Oh yeah, you already got just the amount of floodgates here. It's just like, yeah, I think 2 Gohans. Anything more, you're just like overkill, drawing into a card when you don't need it.
Yeah, like that's the one downside of the card. Although it's hard to call that card, like say that card has a downside, but like there are just the random time when it's not an android and you want one.
That's true.
And it happens. So it's good when it's good, and the matchups that it's awesome. It's like you're gonna bring it in all day, but I think Android 17 is kind of warming up to that spot as well. Then we got the 4 twin, so your green, blue energy, but also just a fantastic card. found this card was really good late game, oddly enough. I never really played it ever early because it always seemed if you played it early, everybody had all kinds of answers to it. But late game, when like, you know, the resource war is on and people are starting to run their hands low, this card gets really tricky then. Especially with the new Z card, I thought it was really good. And this, oddly enough, this next card is like was really MVP, particularly in the last matchup. So when we talk about the matchups, I'll come back to that. That card's so good.
Oh, it's if you got that unison, which in this deck you got so many ways to find it, that you're playing that and then having this just on the back burner with your energy up. It's just like, oh my god, do I even play a card now? Like, what do I do? It's just gonna get bottom deck and he's gonna get a blocker. Like,
yeah, it's very good, especially against combo decks. Oh, it loves combo decks. You need that piece. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And then this one, I always hum and haw on this card. It's the Measureless Strength, so it's another blue-green energy, and honestly, that's the reason why I play it, I think, more than anything. But also, being able to search for the Let the Battle Begins is definitely worth the spot over the tournament. I warmed up really, really good to that card, actually. Originally, I was kind of like on the fence, but I like it at 2. And then we have the Golden Avenger. In a blue meta, you definitely want to be packing one of those. Probably 2. But yeah, that card it feels kind of necessary right now. And then the whole reason I built this deck actually in the first place was I actually had gotten out of blue, but I ended up with this pretty baby hatch from the premium box when Matt and I went in on some, and I wasn't really I was gonna just sell it and get rid of it, but then everybody was talking about the value had dropped to like $25. I'm like, I'm not gonna give baby hatch away for a McDonald's meal. Like,
yeah.
I'll just build a deck with it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I'm just like, yeah, at that point you're just like, nah, shiny cardboard beats $25.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was like, you know what, I looked around like, what blue deck would I actually like? And Gamma had like Cells for days, and like Cells one of my favorite characters, so it's like, yeah, it seems pretty good. We'll play that. And then I added the one Gohan SGR that I have. I have 2 now, thanks. Shout out to Josh for hooking me up at the event. But I would have ran 2 for sure, but I only had 1, so that's what I ran. Very good card. A little bit funky to play, but it does oddly enough save you because it has really good early game application where you can like just snipe out at 5 cost, or and then late game you can take out anything. So it's actually pretty good. A lot better than I originally had planned it to be. I was a little bit on the fence, but it definitely won me over.
And then 8 drop too, right? That goes through your Gamma effect.
Exactly.
So you got 3 energy up, and it's just like, oh, you can't use non-android effects, and it's like, yeah, it's an 8 cost though. So yeah, I'll play this and bottom deck that card.
Yeah, it really gives you just some more like this. The defense of this deck just got so much better with all the new, like the latest sets worth of stuff. Like it used to be like play, sell, reset. Okay, play, sell. Did I win yet? Okay, no. Okay, I'll play, sell. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's a good enough reason for me because I love sell.
Yep.
And I play 3 of them, like everybody like kind of suggesting right now. It makes sense because now that you have way more options in the deck, that you don't necessarily have to rely on it, that you just play it when you need it. 3's the right number for sure.
I think you're right with that one, and it's also nice that you can get it into your energy and still have, oh look, it's an android, it's safe, okay, and then I can use this, pick it up, use it next turn, or just have it in your hand as kind of a bluff, and they're just like, oh, I gotta play around this cell now. Then you never play, and they're just like, oh my, I kept this energy for nothing.
100%. Yeah, like sometimes you would play it down, and that's the other fun thing about this. Actually, my side, I did some funky things with my side too, where like you could play stuff in just to get in your opponent's mind just from the energy, and then they'll see it, and it's like, oh, do I take it back? Do I put it down? What's going on? And it's I don't know. There's so many fun elements to this deck, and that's definitely one of them. That's pretty much all the battle card lineup right there. So the negate or the extra card lineup I had was, of course, 3 Dirty Burst to hopefully not die to Gogeta. Also, other crazy rant. There's so much big monster stuff going on right now that Yeah, that card is essential. 3 Realm of the Gods, Beerus Destroys. Very good. And probably departure for me on how to play this deck. A lot of people will play Dimension Magics, but I didn't in favor of Chilled Army's Reinforcements because I felt like with the reset of the 3 energy, so many floodgates that I didn't feel like you really needed the Dimension Magic, to be honest. I like there was really ever encountered a need for it. It was like if I don't know, I just would rather the Chilled Army in this build. But yeah, that's sort of the main deck as is, and like I said, kind of the reason to play blue, or one of the reasons to really play blue for me, was the Z deck, which has so many possibilities with this. Yeah. So, like, the one card that I really loved having was this Jiren the Immovable, and being able to play a little bit of green energy enough to play that card felt really good on the day because there's so many Boo unisons you could snipe. You also have this nice little tech piece in the Sun Goku Stronger Together. That card is really great late game because like Gamma's not a really big draw deck, which you probably know. It floats somewhere between 9 and 11 cards when it's like at its highest, because you're playing a lot of stuff early that replaces itself, and then towards the end of the game though, when you start trying to go for stuff, then it starts to deplete, and you want to just make sure your opponent doesn't get too crazy. So that card's really good, and plus it helps these twins be more threatening in the late game, because I think any card that has like dual names, it can give triple strike and 10k too, so you can kind of generate a threat out of nowhere, which is nice. And this fun guy, Beerus, the Area Annihilator. He won me so many situations on the day. He was so critical, so key. He was just amazing. I can't believe what he can do sometimes. I play him and I'm like, he wiped the board, and he attacked 3 times and 25k by the end of it. Wow.
Yeah, barrier on one of the wipes too. It's just like, oh my god.
Yeah, he does everything, and he's quite amazing. The other one that was really good on the day too was Cell. I mean, every part of this is pretty good. The only lackluster, honestly, Cell was super good. Wiping a board, becoming a threat, the potential threat with triple strike crit. Not to mention that he can attack once with crit, so he's like dual attack. He's just so good. The only one I wasn't totally sold on was the Vegito. I played one of. I think I got him away in one game, but you can't really trigger the blocker effect on him, so you kind of lose that function. It doesn't totally matter because you're more playing him in the long games where you're playing a long drag out blue deck and you just want that compound effect of if they don't get rid of it, then I'm ripping a card and I'm doing all these things. So. And I have triple strike deflect barrier.
So, yeah, I was gonna say, still just the fact of having triple strike deflect barrier, especially against a blue deck where you guys are probably both at 2-3 cards in hand by that point in the game anyway.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, I'll slap this down. Either wipe those cards from hand or I win the game. Like.
Yeah. Hopefully you haven't lost your Beerus Area Annihilator yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that card's really good. I've seen a lot of people replacing him for. Like one copy of the Frieza, the green Frieza, because he's so cheap for just 1Z energy. It's kind of like double strike, can do some stuff. I get it. It's probably not a bad idea, but I just opted because we have so many blue players and so much control going on there. I just thought this was useful.
Blue's the hot thing right now. It was because red, and now the cool thing about this deck is that you can run that Jiren, because Black Smoke isn't not going to do anything to Boo. But that Jiren does have some options to work with Boo, and like outside of green, you're just like, I got Black Smoke for unison removal, and that I don't know what else, and that Jiren is nice to cover that aspect.
Yeah, he does get you out of some sticky situations for sure. And the fact that he becomes like a 25k double strike too is just so good, so good. Love having options to that. So like I said, we did have a pre-side best of one, so I got a little creative with some of this stuff. It's pretty tailored to my meta. But some of it's pretty standard as well. So I played 2 Bunison. Very good in the stand-up blue match. If you're going to play against, another blue deck, it's going to take you a long way. Sometimes it's just nice to have that, especially if you fear, like, I don't know, Android turning the tide. He's kind of a good, backup defense to that card. And he's just generally good. He's Bunison. Most people would tell you he's broken.
Oh, of course.
Because he is. Also play Kami the Global Unifier. That's my fear of Grape Coup. The yellow Kid Coup starter.
Yep.
That deck, I have such a terrible record. Maybe, not so much with this deck, but like every other deck, it seems like I can never beat that deck. So, it's kind of like my please help me, Lord Kami moment of the side deck here. Also, because we do have such a control meta, I play Koitsukai. Definitely very good in this. We do have quite a few, Jonah, as well as Frank likes to play some discard. We have a lot of discards, so I just added some apes in there for compound with the black smoke, in case I need to pump up my hand some. Definitely the two Gohans, 2 extra Gohans for, and we do have some aggro. We have a fair aggro. I mean, you'll when I go over the match, you'll hear this, like, it was pretty surprising, the meta that we have. Not in a bad way, in a good way. And the second ape, of course, because help deal with all the blue and control yellow. It's really good against yellow too. One Bad Omen, which I never brought in on the day, but I don't know, it's foil.
Yeah.
Turning the Tide, which I did bring in a few times and mostly just bluff people. I put it in my energy and let them know, better watch it. And then the third Child's Army, in case a green cooler player showed up. I suspected, and suspected wrongly, nobody showed up with it, but
they did it wrong then.
I agree. I was like, that green cooler guy would have won the day if he hypothetically showed up.
Yeah.
A lot of blue. So yeah, that's the deck.
No,
right there.
I think it's a solid list. I know the tournament was 5 rounds of Swiss, and then you guys did Top Cut.
That's right. Yeah. So we did, and that was really fun because we haven't done something like that in a long time, and because it was a bit of a homebrew tournament, or was a totally homebrew tournament, we got to kind of do what we wanted. And I don't know, it just reminded me of my old days playing versus system card. I don't know if you know that card game, but it was a superhero card game back in the day. And I used to always play
card game noob when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, no, it was a really good game, and we used to play that, and so it got me all in the nostalgic feels of the day. It really felt good to go through like a long 5 games and then go into a Top Cut, and I don't know, sometimes you have to correct your wrongs. Stuff that you did wrong. Like for instance, my first matchup was against Blue Baby Mill.
Oh, jeez.
That's terrible for me, and I knew it right away. I was like, ugh, okay, so we're going to push each other back, except for I'm going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what happened. And I gave him a little bit of a game, but there's probably a couple turns where I probably could have attacked through a Gohan or two and maybe try to put more pressure. I kind of knew what I did wrong, and anyways, we went to, like, I don't know, ungodly terms where he just milled me out at the end, which was to be expected. GG, Robbie.
So
and
you started on the back foot here, so going in game 2 with a loss. Okay, and then you still brought it back. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I did. And then my second game was against probably my second hardest matchup on the day, oddly enough, which I thought it would be a little bit easier. I don't know if it's just things didn't go my way, but I ended up pulling it out. Was against SS4 Gogeta. It was a pretty close match, but I think it was really close right up to a point where I ended up floodgating him like a crazy amount in one turn. And I think he probably underestimated what he had to do to maybe try to go for game. He might have been able to take it, but I think with all the pressure of, I got a bottom deck and trying to manage like all what was going on in terms of the floodgating, that he ended up maybe miscalculating a little bit. We talked about it afterwards, and he didn't go for it, and then I was able to clap back the very next time and take it. third game was against Matt, who was playing Mickey Kabura. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
That's how I say it. I think either Mickey Kabura, Mickey Cabra. I think Mickey Kabura sounds better. So that's what
There'll be somebody in the chat that will correct us phonetically. So.
Yeah, it's fine.
But yeah, I played him, and it was a really good. Like he came out of the gates pretty strong. Like I think he had a strategy because he talked me into the deck for a reason, I guess. It was pretty good.
Like, yes, you sit there, you have that, so I know exactly how to beat you.
Yeah, so he, like first away, he kind of like popped down like a dark mass sand, kind of gave me a smug look, and I was like, okay, this will be interesting. They put a second one down. I was like, oh, interesting. But I mean, we do have Beerus Destroys, which is actually a pretty good answer to kind of help with that a little bit. But it did kind of get a little dicey there, and I think the one big moment in the game that kind of turned everything around was he had tapped out trying to get me, and I was able to just steer it off with 1 million floodgates, and I was able to also hit back, and I think he mismanaged his negate, or he ended up putting a negate back. I think he ended up bottom deck or doing something to, I think it was a token negate, and anyways, I played Cell the next turn, like the Z deck Cell, so I wiped his board, and then I actually got off the full crit package. So I got off the original crit, then I got off the 3 damage crit, and I think I put him to two life, and it was just too much of a swing for him to bounce back from. Ended up turning the tides that game, so I ended up winning that. Next match was dark. I go through it like I told you, it was like a totally blue, like a lot larger blue meta, but I ended up playing a ton of black decks because they actually ended up doing really well. Or at least like they kept like getting to that point. So I played Dark Broly.
Jeez, there's a fossil.
Yeah, and the Dark Broly deck was doing all kinds of weird stuff. It seemed like he always had an answer to my floodgates. So he was playing like a bunch of extra cards that, anything 15k or less, you just go to the warp to get played. So like he kept shutting that down early, and to my stupidity, Dirty Burst does nothing against that deck. So and I forgot to take him out. So I was playing with that, but I did fortunately put in the other 2 Gohans, and that definitely saved my butt. So playing the Gohan Floodgate was really huge in that deck and made me able to basically claw back. The early game was a little bit sketchy, got me pretty to 4 or 3 life pretty fast and pretty early, but then I had a lot of good removal and was able to just basically get back and to the game, and I think he used a lot of his answers to my floodgates early, which meant my later floodgates were doing a lot of work. And there's no answer to Baby Hatch in that one. So I do think like Gohan SER is probably a good choice for this deck too. I just didn't own it or have access to it. So
but still, it's hard to argue stopping a turn, like literally just saying no.
Yeah, it really is. Actually, there's several times where it was actually super good because, a lot of people, there's so many counters in the current meta, so like you can actually legitimately just throw one away because you have 1,000 floodgates. Just throw a floodgate away. You go, did you counter this one? Oh, you didn't. Okay, Baby Hatch the next one or something like that. So you're, it's kind of funny to have that many floodgates that you can be pretty liberal, but that's what this deck does. And so I was able to pull.
If you got a certain energy, right? You got 5 energy, you can hit your counter back with your Golden Avenger.
Yeah. It's that's one of the things that this deck got is a lot of like flexibility. It went from being like a play sell win or do it, play sell swing reset play sell to like actually have a ton of stuff it can do. It's really crazy. And the next matchup, so that was...
Actually, I just realized that Baby Golden Avenger, that wouldn't even work now that I'm thinking about it. With your leader,
you can't use it on your turn, or on their turn. You can use it on your turn. You use it to push. But,
okay, I was going to say, yeah, so in the Baby Hatch situation, like I was saying, it wouldn't even work that way. In my brain, I was just calculating, I'm like, nah, I'm a fucking idiot.
Well, no, it is something that you kind of you have to as you play the deck, you have to train yourself not to, because it's like so instinctual to do these things, and you're like, I can't. That's why I think a lot of people turn away from like the Vegito Z card and stuff like that, because it can kind of trick you sometimes. But that card, you have to think of it pure offense, and it's a good enough reason. There's actually a game I I'll tell you when we get back. But it's the next one was Token Toa. Yeah, that was my last game of the match. Was Token Toa. So the black Toa leader that generates tokens, and he's a relatively new player in the meta. Jason, he's doing really well, and I think because he's new, he's sticking to like aggro builds and thing, which I think is really smart. Because if you can't predict the meta and you just play super aggro and you have your game plan down, and so he was actually doing quite well. And but unfortunately, he was playing an aggro deck into a 1 million floodgate deck, and he didn't really have that much experience against Gamma. Like it was his first time ever playing it, so yeah, I think I floodgated him every turn from like turn 2 onwards. It was pretty crazy.
He still got pretty far up there with the Token Toa though.
Yeah, he's gonna be top 4 for sure. It was him or I, and his build was kind of interesting too. Like it was gas, but it was good. The way he played it he's a good player too. So there's some really creative builds, especially that were going on. Some of the top 4 stuff. So when we got into the top 4, it was me, a lot of blue again. Baby Mill made it, so I was gonna face my worst enemy again. And Beerus Ramp got in, and then probably the funkiest one that got in was OG Hurdigarn.
Yeah, I saw that the blue-green Hurdigarn.
Blue-green discard Hurdigarn. It just happened to. Well, it's not really discard, but it was playing kind of like a hand control-y weird thing. But that's what he played blue on the day. Almost all his route. Mine was completely opposite. I played all black decks, but he had played all blue decks, and it was like working out for him. Because he was just making sure, like his strategy was like, I'm going to make you see the same 2 cards over and over again. And against blue, if you whisper the word discard into a blue deck, it just folds.
Mm-hmm. And that one's even scarier where, like you're saying, like, it's sure it discards here and there, but it also has the effects where it's like, yeah, put it back on the top of your deck. So you're just going to be stuck seeing the same card. You're not going to be able to filter through your deck for your secret or whatever
exactly.
else.
He was a little bit nightmare. He was scared of yellow, and it makes sense because I think the yellow decks would have pushed through the amount, but like the blue decks were struggling hard against it because they were like you said, they were either discarding a card or they were seeing the same card over and over and over again. And yeah, he just pushed his way through with that. It was a pretty creative build. So in the top 4, right away, I ended up playing the Baby Mill deck. Again. But this time I had a better idea of what I was going to do. And it was I was pretty defeatist. I was like, okay, I guess this is how far I get. Good job. But I had to have adopted a strategy of just kind of, I was going to aggro. I was going to like push him down super hard and super fast before he could get established. So that way I could try to get trickier in the late game maybe. And I sided the extra Golden Avenger, which actually was totally key because what ended up happening was pushed him in pretty quick to 4-3 life, and I can't remember what turns, but it's like post turn 5. And I just played 1 Golden Avenger. I ended up having both of them in my hands, the one I had. I played one, attack. I had a board because he couldn't really remove a whole lot, so I was playing a board of stuff. And I was getting ready to swing, so I'd swing. He'd of course negate. I'd play Golden Avenger, get Golden Avenger, swing with Golden Avenger. He bottom decked it with Bunison. And so I was like, okay, reset. He'd come into me, I'd just reset his turn. And they would go to me again. And I was like, okay, let's do it again. I managed to actually get rid of Bunison, I think, through tags too. So he didn't have it the second time around. And another weird thing I ended up doing was I ended up playing the crit Android 18, which sort of shuffled my deck, which is the funny part of the story because I did Golden Avenger again. He stopped my attacks that turn, but I drew into my quasi third Golden Avenger. Just the way it worked.
Back,
yeah, because it got shoveled back, and the way it worked, it was like through the draw, whatever. I ended up pulling it again before the start of my next turn, and that was just a little too much because he had ended up using a chill, bring his life down to 1, and I had a bunch of swings, and I just ended up pulling it. So I was glad that strategy worked. I was actually kind of surprised it pulled off because that's a really tough matchup. Beerus Ramp would have been pretty bad too, but Beerus Ramp ended up losing to Hurdigarn. And then I faced off against Hurdigarn. Now, the funny thing about that matchup was, like, I think I was the only blue deck that would ever give him a hard time, and this was totally why Let the Battle Begins was an MVP on the day, because it completely shut that deck down. But I didn't know, funny enough, when I sat down to play it, I actually sided one out. I was like, oh, I don't need this card. And then as soon as I did my mulligan, or my first 6 cards, and I saw 2 of them, I was like, oh crap, this is the card. I just sided one out. So I kept the 2 that I got. And I was like, I'm going to hold on to these because I think these are going to be super critical. And the way this ended up playing out, I never let him get started. He played the Tapion 2-drop that goes up the chain, and as soon as he tried to play it, I basically bottom decked it. And so that stopped him for that turn. And the other turn, he ended up playing the ramp Harudegarn and then a barrier Harudegarn as well, like 2 really high-costed Harudegarns. I can't remember exactly what they were doing. It was annoying stuff, of course, because that's what it's trying to do. So it was like putting your hand or putting something on the bottom of the deck. And I played Beerus Area Annihilator, followed up and cleared them both because of that card. And then I had the second. So he was getting kind of a little bit desperate, I think. He tried to, ended up paying 4 to try to get the 4-cost Harudegarn out, but I had the second Android 18 and bottom decked it. And that was kind of a bad moment because I was able to bring him to about 5 life, because he was setting pretty high. I was trying not to attack his life a whole lot because I didn't want him to get a whole bunch of cards. And I wanted to, because he's a blue deck, I could also starve him by just not doing so. I was taking out his Unison or whatever he tried to play, just kind of getting him in striking range. And I ended up drawing the 3rd one that I had, which was kind of crazy because the very next play he tried to do is he tried to get the Vegeta to try to awaken because he wanted to start being able to draw better. And with his Awaken leader also giving 2 energy, and I was like, nope, bottom deck. I was like, nope to everything. And the story even gets funnier from there because I only played 3, and I saw all 3 by that moment. And I'm just deflecting his stuff with like heart, the floodgate stuff, and he didn't have a hand side stave ever pushed through it. And so his next follow-up turn, he plays a Harudegarn that has to, or does bottom deck, or top decks a card that's in play. And the only 3 choices he had at the moment was Beerus and Area Annihilator, which he couldn't target, the Android 17 that he couldn't target because it had barrier, and an Android 18. And he must have forgot. But he top decked my Android 18, Let the Battle Begin, and I drew 4 of them. So I had a quasi 4th card of that, and so he top decked it, and he totally forgot he did it. He just sort of did it. You know how you do stuff automatically?
Of course.
Getting rid of cards is good, and so I drew it into the next turn, and he tried to hard cast because he was getting real desperate at this moment, and was shutting down. And he tried to hard cast the 4-drop again. I can't remember what the 4-drop does. I know it punishes negates. It's a green 4-cost Harudegarn. I think he was trying to get me in that loop, and I just bottom decked again. Then he said GG and gave me the game because he really had no steam after that. So.
No, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, because I think if the 4-drop, that's like the combo killer one that can go into the 6-drop. I don't know,
Yeah.
the draft box, whatever,
Yes.
green Harudegarn cards. Yeah, I think that's the one that you're talking about. Yeah, but it's funny when you put a card like that and then you realize you're just like, God damn it, I just did that to myself.
Yeah, he was like, I don't know if it was just the nerves or what at the moment, because I was saying nope to everything. I mean, that has to get annoying.
Oh, of course.
I just need to because he couldn't get his strategy going, and kudos to him for bringing a really creative and strange idea to, pretty on our side of the country, definitely the highest caliber event. We were all bringing our A games this one. There was no fun. We're pretty, we like to play our fun games. We got competitive, a competitive streak too, but this one was all in because everybody wanted that bragging right. Matt's gonna change your title in the group chat. Now it's the first best player for 6 months. You can't take it away from me. And go down the chain, the second, the third, the fourth. So it was a really good event. I really had a lot of fun. And,
sounds like you did.
Awesome.
No, it sounds like you played against a bunch of unique decks as well too that were tailored to kind of go against, which is fun seeing a lot of black decks. I don't know if that's Matt's influence there, But
It could be just a little bit. Yeah. Well, like I said, our meta is a little bit. I mean, I think this game's got a pretty good health threat. Like I know there was a lot of doom and gloom during the the red surge there, but I always felt like people just weren't playing enough blue, and then somebody figured it out, and then all of a sudden blue started like slapping red around a little bit and kind of balancing it. I'm not to say that Sin didn't need a tweak or Gogeta didn't need a tweak, but it wasn't. I don't think it was ever as bad. And this game has a pretty good diversity at the top. Like there's a lot of skill. I really enjoy this game.
No, it's glad to hear. I enjoy this game as well, but sometimes when you look at the Facebook main group and stuff, all you see is complaints, and people think it's just all complaints. But at the end of the game, we're here because at the end of the day, we're here because we love the game. So, and I'm glad that an event like this happened, where you guys got to have your bragging rights, and then also get that dope ass mat as well too. I was showcasing those in the last video that we were talking about this, and I'm glad that all this got to work out. I know there was some like donated prizing as well with like the was. Can you go in with some of that?
Yeah, so we had the mats, and Matt had basically put together. Also, we had some packs involved. Obviously, there was donated SCR. Was the Frieza Goku SCR. Mm-hmm. It's a lot better now that there's no God Ceiling.
Yeah.
And there was also I can't remember what it was exactly, but like Frank from Team Berserk had donated. It was a Dragon Ball collectible of some kind. So it was in theme. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So there was like, it was definitely well positioned for what it was, and it was a lot of fun. It'd be fun to get people's interest around it too. Get some more people from outside. Like I know we've heard there's a group in PEI that's going to start connecting with us now based off this event, like just hearing about it, which is kind of exciting. Awesome. They got 10 players, so yeah, like we're floating close to 20 here now, like pretty regular.
That's awesome that it's still kicking.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We heard there's people in Nova Scotia as well. We haven't connected with them yet, but there's like two communities in New Brunswick, so we got Moncton and Fredericton. Yeah, the game's doing well here, and like everybody's like super into it. It's awesome. I personally think I can't get over how crazy the meta is. Actually, like you look at the list, and the top is like I don't know. I don't know how many card games you play, but I played card games where like literally if you weren't playing 3 decks, you weren't playing the game. And I don't feel like this is anything like that at all. Like from what
I think right now, it may look polarizing. You always see like Crimson always near the top and stuff, and then you were seeing Sin and SS4. I think the last what was it? Either maybe because of Zenkai Cup, like there was no Sin even at the top, and you just see all these other decks that are just like, well, this blue deck here checkmates these red decks, and then I got this green deck here that is checkmating these blue decks, and then I got this yellow deck here that's well-rounded, and then it's nice seeing stuff like that. And I was glad to hear that there was actually quite a few black decks that you went up against, seeing that color is everyone's favorite thing to make fun of right now. It's good to see that some stuff's going on, because I've faced some pretty nasty token Toa decks that you're just like, hey, what the hell is this? What are you going to do to me? And then I'm down to 2 life on turn 2. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, and people forget, like, there's an advantage to playing stuff that people don't know, right? Like, that's like 100%. A huge... If you show up with a deck that your opponent doesn't know, you're going to get some stuff, like some wins that you weren't even planning on. And, like, everybody forgets about that. They talk like, oh, like, it's just, oh, you got to play these decks, you got to play these decks. And we had, like, red Sin decks that, they did okay. They were, like, 3-2, but they were getting beat out by black decks, green decks, and blue decks. And, we had SS4, I think it was, like, 2 and 3 on the day as well. So I would say the meta is in a pretty decent spot, as long as people are, open to playing new things. I mean, sometimes you're going to play I think red had a benefit, too, of just being, like, the aggro deck. So sometimes when you're in a high pressure situation, you just want to play something that's like not too crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, think smash. That's about it.
Yeah, like you go to an event, you just it'll carry you to maybe it's good enough to carry you to like top 18. You just don't want to put too much effort into it. But yeah, it seemed like the U.S. figured it out pretty quick that blue was the answer to the red wave, and then everybody was like, oh yeah. And then like, you know, in the Europeans, they were like, I think they were all playing red. And then like the one guy was like, I think it was Big O, was like, I'm gonna play Gamma and everything.
Yep, took him all the way to number 1.
So yeah, so there's a triangle. There's, you know, there's some things going on. You just gotta pay attention. I think it's not doom and gloom, at least in my opinion. I say that as I play blue.
Fair enough.
So, well, you know.
But
yeah, that's it, man. Like that's everything.
no, thanks so much for showing the deck list, man. Was there anything you wanted to shout out, or the store, or anything like that?
Yeah, I'll shout out to you know, obviously Comic Hunter for being a great store to work with, great partner in the game. I don't do a lot of the managing of that, but like I'm pretty close to the people that do, and they're really good at facilitating everything. Shout out to Matt for putting together organizing a great event. Lufa for running it, it's our judge. And shout out to Travis for collecting all this blinged out Gamma stuff that I end up inheriting through a chain of people. He forced me. This is gonna be a low rarity deck for me, and then he ended up blinging out the whole thing and the core of it anyways, and so that forced me to you know, cater to my weak will.
It's like, oh no, it's shiny, I have to play it.
Yeah. Kudos to him, and then Alex, and then somehow making it to Matt, who ended up hooking me up. So I love this deck. It's definitely going to be a mainstay in my collection.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for showing off the deck.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate that.